I haven't channeled Adronis in a couple of weeks, but when I've had the past sessions, people have just been blown away because he can even answer a question before a person even has the thought of even letting it out of their mouth. So I mean, it's stuff like that, and it's just an incredible experience when you have a being like that you're contracted with to give you all this information and guidance, and it's been a wonderful help for me as well too.
Well, now, when the information comes through you, this isn't, most channels are oral channels. When you're writing, is that a more complicated process to keep up with the input, the energy that's coming through you?
With me, I'm more of an easy conduit, and some people get confused when I say that. I mean, some people have to go into trance to do it. I don't. The whole idea is that I just have to get myself into a relaxed state, getting myself into a high vibration. And when I do that, I just pretty much feel his energy coming around me. It's like a swirling sensation of energy. And I just pretty much flip my consciousness to make it more subconscious, less unconscious, getting into that point. And when I just kind of had the urge to write, it wasn't like any energy was taking over my hand or anything like that. It was an urge to write all this stuff that I had no idea what I was writing. It was coming out so fast. And I wanted to go a step further. I wanted to actually see if I could vocally channel. And that's kind of where Darryl Anka kind of helped me a lot too, because I was emailing him and saying, I'm in contact with this being from Sirius, and I really want to learn how to vocally channel. And Darryl was telling me some of the stuff about what he was doing when he was first learning to channel BASHAR. And so I kind of mimicked that, but I kind of adapted it to my own flow of energy. And shortly after I did that, it wasn't like I'm getting into a state where, I mean, my style, I guess you could say, is somewhat similar to Darryl's, because he doesn't really go into a trance state. It's just like all his neural pathways are all picked up, are all heightened. It's kind of like the same with me, too. I just get into that state and it just feels like there's just something going on in there, And after a couple of minutes, it feels like the same flow you get when you're doing automatic writing, but I'm narrating it. And I'm on the back, it's kind of like my consciousness is on the back burner. I know things are being said, but I'm not really paying attention to it. All this information is coming out, so everything's very, very subconscious from that point.
Interesting.
So it locks into a form of telepathic locked sync vibration, and then his information comes through, and you can tell it's someone completely different because just my whole personality literally changes.
Now, let's talk a little bit about what Adronis has shared about the nature of the cosmic plan that we're in now. What is it that's happening now, and why is this time so special, and what's going on?
Well, see, basically he's been saying pretty much a lot of what the ancient cultures have been saying for thousands and thousands of years, that they're finally reaching a point to where we're crossing into a new threshold of energy. We're crossing into a new form of consciousness, and that around the time, I'm not going to say right at 2012 because, I've always had, weird things about that. But around that time, within the next few years, there's just going to be things that are going to be accelerating. We're just moving from more of even BASHAR has talked about this too as well, that we're moving more to a slightly negatively overwhelming form of collective consciousness to a slightly overwhelming positive form of collective consciousness. Earth will still continue to be here. We'll still be here in some form of physicality in this dimension. We're not moving off to being angels or anything like that. It's just that we still have an experience on Earth. But everything that's really going to happen is that things are just going to start shifting into more of a positive direction. So really that's what's happening right now with everything right now, because people want to focus on 2012, saying, 2012 is this big shift and everything like that. And I keep telling you, well, do you guys not realize that you're shifting now? Everything is truly happening right now. Everything that's happening right now is that transition, is that shift. So really what Adronis is saying is that everything is starting to come together at this point. This is a time of great change. This is just a time where people are starting to learn the lesson of self-responsibility, the lesson of love, understand that they are more than their physical body, understand that they can move on to achieve higher forms of consciousnness if it is in their journey to do so. Because, let's face it, there's going to be some people that won't have that journey. But that's okay, because, Earth itself is a tough school. It's a grand university. People are here to earn their master's degree in self. Some people are going to achieve that in this life. Some people, it may take a few other lives. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, everybody has the mass form of consensus that this is the time of change. This is the time of shift. Everything is happening at this point that is really shifting us into a whole new perspective of consciousness. Just consciousness is growing. It's like this big bubble that just keeps going to expand. The other way to put it is this, Mother Earth herself is supposed to give birth to a new consciousness. Any way you want to look at it, that's pretty much the whole lowdown of what's going on.
Well, a lot of people do share about this about this time that there are higher frequencies and energies being coming in that of course we can't see, but which are breaking down the old archetypes, as you said, and that's helping to change. That's why a lot of people feel so uncomfortable as these old polarized and duality-based systems are breaking down.
Yep. I mean, that's the whole purpose, too. I mean, just these systems are meant to self-destruct at a point to where enough people are realizing that they can overcome it. So, and, there's always going to be the obsessive person that says, I want to create a movement to completely knock down the monetary system, or I want to create a movement that's going to do this and do that. You don't have to do that. The whole idea is that system is going to fall at some point. It's been created that way. It's been archetyped. The whole purpose is that you're moving past that phase. You're overcoming the obstacle of feeling that you have to be bound by that form of belief system and then moving on to something else to which you truly know is, right for you. So, I mean, change itself is going to happen, but it's not about one person trying to change the world. It's about that one person trying to change their world. That's really the whole idea, the whole consensus of the whole plan. Really, that's even what Adronis says. It says you don't have to be here to change the world. You're just here to change yourself, so you can create the outcome of the world that you want to be in.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I do agree with that too. Yep. Although sometimes I get sucked into, a few conspiracies and some things that are going on that I, have a little judgment about still, but that's just more work on judgment.
Oh, I used to be like that, too. I used to be very, very, I guess you could say, new agey. Everything was love and light, and I wasn't allowed to look at anything dark. If I was to look at something dark, it was like, oh, no, you better sweep that under the rug. You don't want to look at that. But the whole idea is that, the darkness, it's not about you actually having to succumb to it, but it's about observing it. When you observe the darkness and saying, okay, I have to thank the darkness for showing me that, because now it's showing me something that I don't want in my life anymore. People just don't be afraid of your darkness. Just allow that, be the observer. The yin cannot be the yin and the yang if you're just looking at the yin, or if you're just looking at the yang. You have to understand that you're that entire symbol. You can't be this or that. You're this and that. So when you start to look at yourself and look at the yin-yang symbol and saying, that's what I am. I have the black and the white in me, but I am that whole symbol. You're both sides of the coin. It's that simple.
Well, I do like what you said, or what Adronis says about shifting to a polarity that's slightly on the positive side, because it does seem that since the beginning of this particular game board that we've been tilted to the extreme negative. So at the very least, that will be a positive change, if nothing else.
Exactly.
Now, does Adronis share what the future is like where he is as you? And what is he in a high
density? Yeah, because the thing is, he's not human. So, he's not from Earth. All that stuff. He is from the Syrian constellation, from what he has given me information about. From where he is, humanity is exploring the stars, just like he is. They're really into a very higher form of consciousness. They're still very physical. There's still human beings here on this planet. Earth still is very much like what we see now, maybe just with a little bit of changes energetically. But, there really is just like a collective consciousness at work where there is, I don't want to say there are no more challenges, because there always is challenges, but it's challenges in a new arena. It's challenges in a new theme. And, it's all about exploration. It's all about bettering ourselves and being, and actually going beyond the whole confines of thinking that, I have to live monetarily. Now I can actually start to look at the idea of saying that, I can move on to better achieve, whatever I want to achieve. But, there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be something. If you had no challenges in life, you're going to be pretty damn bored,
Yeah.
So the whole concept is that it doesn't have to be about corruption, because corruption isn't always the challenge, but there is always some challenge to bettering yourself on an evolutionary scale. And just from what I've felt from 297 years around that point where Adronis is, humanity is it's so much different than what it is now. There's less corruption and there's more idea of expanding and broadening the horizons of just wanting to go beyond the planet, going on beyond dimensions, really. It really feels like we've been unleashed. So that's 300 years approximately around the future. But I think from what I see a very, very positive future ahead for so many of us.
Well, I would also guess that by that time we will have made the leap to telepathic communication. So
that's exactly what we were talking about with the collective consciousness. Yeah.
Exactly. So then we would know a person's intentions, so there wouldn't be any possibility of...
Well, see, that's exactly what I wanted to... Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to prove tonight, is that we are already connected. There's always the talk of, around the time of the shift and all that stuff like that, we're actually going to be connected collectively. I'd like to prove tonight that we are actually already connected. What I wanted to do is I was going to give a little experiment to some of the people that might be listening tonight. I just have a little piece of paper here, and I've written down a number from the number 1 to number 10, between 1 and 10. And I just wanted to see if anybody out there who's listening tonight, or even if you want to, Lance, you can even take a stab at this as well, too. It's just a way to prove that through tuning into one person's vibration allows you to tune in exactly to their thoughts so that you can experience the same thought at the exact same time. So, for example, trying to guess a number from 1 to 10. So, I have a number right down here on a piece of paper, and people can always just kind of play along with this at home. All it takes is just turning into that vibration. You got that picture of me on your page there on bbsradio.com. All you have to do is just take a look at that picture and just say, okay, I want to tune into Brad's energy. And I'm just thinking about the number right now, and anybody out there who feels that they want to try and take a stab at it can go ahead and take a stab at it. And Lance, how about you? You feel you got the vibration going?
Well, I came up with the number 7.
You got it. It is exactly number 7. Yes, I got it written down right here. You got the number 7. Yep. See, it's that simple. This just goes to show everybody that we are already connected. We are already collective in itself. It's just a matter of tuning our vibration into each other. That's amazing, man. That was great.
Well, thank you.
But that just goes to show just exactly how amazingly connected we are, through that love, through that joy. Lance, I can tell from you, you're just already at that higher vibrational level. That's all it takes, because with love you can create. And with love, you can actually telepathically, link to each other and say, "Oh my God, yeah, you're thinking of number 7." Well, there you go. See, and it's just it's that first guess, and you got it, and it just shows, plain knowingness right inside there.
Well, I bet there are a lot of happy people out there that also, came up with the same number. It'd be interesting to find out how many did. I'm sure quite a few, because we have a terrific listening audience, and they're very aware and very conscious and quite loving and wonderful.
Absolutely. And that just goes to show everybody, because, just the big question is so many people are so curious about, when do we become telepathic? When do we start doing this and we start doing that? And I keep telling them, well, do you not know that you're telepathic right now? That's okay, let's try this experiment, give it a shot, and then bam.
Yeah. And then
it's all about opening yourself up.
Yeah, for many years people have done those experiments with cards where they say, what am I looking at? And there's a shape and all that, and so we're probably we're probably there. Maybe it's my belief system that we're moving towards it that's a limitation. Maybe I need to let go of that belief that we're not there already, and just let that go out the window, and just say, we are there. We are telepathic. We are all communicating together.
Absolutely. And the whole idea is that people think that telepathy is reading your mind. Nothing to do with that at all. It's all about emotion. The more that you put your emotion into trying to just tune in to the vibration. It's like two tuning forks. You hit a tuning fork against the table, you hold it up to the other one, and the other one vibrates in resonance. That's all telepathy is. It's just about entering another person's vibrational signature, vibrational flux. And when you start to do that, you have the exact same thoughts at the exact same time, even though you don't know that you're having it. It's that easy.
Wow. What are some of the tools that Adronis advises for those who are in the process of awakening? Are there methods and so on that or techniques that he shares with some of the people that you work with?
Oh, yeah. It's really simple. Be as happy as you can. That's it. It's just about being in your joy, being excited. Some people even ask me, what is higher vibration? Everybody always says that all the time. Be in love, be in higher vibration. What does that mean? The whole idea is, how do you feel after you get this really great massage? How do you feel after something hit you that's just so stupendous that it just leaves you in joy all day long? Those are all